Hello, I'm Scott Wilson. I'm publisher of Resort Trades. Welcome to another Trades learning event. If you missed any of our previous webinars, please go to the Resort Trades channel on YouTube. Today, we're delighted to have Jason Gamel presenting a session called ARDA 2021, the Playbook, the Players, and the Way Forward. Jason is president and CEO of the American Resort Development Association, ARDA, and he has served ARDA previously, actually, as a government affairs vice president. And then he left for a few years to work for Wyndham Destinations as SVP of Legal. Prior to his first stint at ARDA, he was an associate at Baker Hostetler, one of the nation's largest and most prestigious law firms in their hospitality practice. So welcome, Jason. Thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much, Sharon. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited about the conversation ahead of us.
Well, we are too. Now, we do have our first poll question, which many of you have already started to answer. And I'm glad to see the question being, are you an ARDA member? So far, 83% of our listeners are, and another 16 that we will proselytize are not.
We call those opportunities, Sharon. They're all opportunities.
That's right. So we'll ask Carrie to go ahead and throw up our slide presentation, shall we? And then after which we'll get into the questions and answer.
Sure. Sounds great, Sharon. And like I said, it's really nice to be joining you today. Have the opportunity to talk a little bit about where things stand with the timeshare industry right now, and hopefully answer some questions. The presentation part of what we're going to talk about today is relatively short. I really hope we can spend it with whatever questions you might get from the audience today, talking about some of the other topics at hand. But really, hopefully at the end of our conversation, everyone will have a better idea, or at least a different perspective on where the timeshare industry is today and where things might be heading in the future, and just what is going on with ARDA, and what does ARDA do with the dues money, and what are we doing with our time these days, working mostly, if not exclusively, from home, and spending our time and efforts in trying to represent the timeshare industry as best we can. So as I go through this presentation, what I'm hoping to convey is a bit of where we are as an industry, a bit of where the timeshare owner and consumer is as far as their travel habits, and what we think they might be looking to do in the near future. We'll go into some of what the industry has done to truly adapt to the current circumstances we're in, and why do we think that the timeshare industry is well positioned as any other travel sector to really lead the recovery for tourism and really have a very successful future ahead of it. Once we're done with that, we'll get into a bit of what ARDA is up to, and then Sharon and I hopefully will have a nice conversation about some of the other things that we see coming in the future for 2021 and beyond. So with that, taking a look at the resilience of the timeshare industry, it's one thing that I've had a chance to talk to a lot of people about over the last 6 months. Despite the pandemic that we've been in, and we look back at history as to similar types of events, although there's nothing that's quite been the equal of this, going back to whether it's hurricanes, going back to the terrorist attacks of 9/11, looking at the economic Great Depression we had in 2008, 2009, and of course other pandemics that did exist, whether it was SARS and other pandemics. Nothing really had slowed down the growth of the timeshare industry, or even the occupancy of timeshare resorts, really, besides 2008, 2009, as we're seeing today. This type of resilience really shows in the overall sales numbers. As you see, the only time dipping there in 08, 09. And we see already some great stories of adaptation and people looking forward to a 2021 Q3, Q4 recoveries, and maybe even in 2022, starting to get back to where we were in the 2019 levels. But really taking a look at this chart and also the historical occupancy charts, really shows that this industry has been able to find ways to make it through troubled times. And really and truthfully, the 2008, 2009 times, the one thing that held the industry back was the availability of capital and the availability of developers to be able to access capital markets to lend for people to buy. The demand was very much there for people to purchase, which was great to see. And just as we see today, if you look at the way that the industry has adapted, there are really four big ways that we see that the industry has adapted that has made for a very successful run through 2020 for occupancy and even for people looking at future sales. For one, the industry has taken to some strong health and safety guidelines to make sure that people, when they vacation, they feel safe in their unit, they feel that their unit is clean, and they feel like their vacation will also be one in which they have a lot of control over what they do and how they operate. This has been fantastic, and really a number of the players that have developed health and safety guidelines came together to assist ARDA early on in the pandemic to put forth our own safety guidelines, which are found on our website, in order to express for those who might not have had the time or don't have the means and capacity to put their own safety guidelines together. They're there on the website to be shared. We really found that there have been some innovative things that our members were doing that were really giving their owners and guests some real strong confidence in the fact that they were taking care of their guest population and they really took this pandemic seriously. And because of that, there was a significant increase in occupancy and also in confidence that came from the timeshare owner. Second, flexibility. The ability for people to have flexibility in their use, whether it was an opportunity to bank points into a future use year, a chance to exchange perhaps without an exchange fee for a location that may have been closer, so that way someone didn't lose their time to vacation because they weren't able to get on a plane. All of those things have really helped timeshare owners find ways to continue to travel. I myself personally banked my own timeshare usage to the next year. I actually was able to put it forth to 2022 when I thought my family was going to really be back on the road in a significant way with having my 2021 points to use. We're booking vacations for 2021 already with the ability to look at 2022. I've talked to some owners and have seen developers doing this, and it's really made a big difference in how they view their timeshare ownership. Also, what I think we see here, there has been a strong emphasis on drive-to destinations. This is something that you've also seen spilled over into other industries, such as the campground industry, the RV industry, where people can get in a car and travel, where they can go to be able to be with their family, but do so in a way that they can travel 3, 4, 5 hours or even longer, but a chance to then vacation somewhere they feel safe and not have to move through airports. That has been a significant factor in both people using their own timeshare and exchanging to locations, especially from international locations to domestic locations, and a strong emphasis on outdoor activity. Now we're into the ski season with the ability for people to be outside in snow activities. Before it was beach, which the beaches seeing extreme activity and people wanting to be able to be outside and feeling safe to be outside. Those locations will probably continue to be popular throughout this year. Also, I've heard of a number of other types of industries popping up, both camping industries. Some folks I talked to the other day about people camping on other people's farms. It's amazing what's coming up, and you see that the opportunity for people to be outdoors, and especially in the timeshare world, for them to have a timeshare unit as a home base, that has been extremely popular and one that we see being a great benefit for timeshare owners. And maybe last but not least has been the shift to online platforms, whether it's been online sales platforms, people learning how to use technology via Zoom, via an iPad, or just coming through FaceTime on FaceTime applications. The chance to be able to talk to owners and consistently be able to communicate with them, whether they're on property or in the comfort of their own home, to talk about their ownership. They've found another way for us to be able to promote the industry and for sales to continue during this time, as people are very much interested in building up their vacation portfolios, so that way they're in a position to take advantage of their vacation time when travel might be a bit easier for them. One of the big partnerships that the ARDA International Foundation has had as a research partner in 2020 has been a group called the Back to Normal Barometer. The Back to Normal Barometer has been able to provide us the opportunity to speak specifically to a group of timeshare owners as they have as part of their research pool and find out a lot about a timeshare owner these days. What are their confidence levels? How do they think they're going to travel in the future? Have they used their timeshare and will they use their timeshare? We see that really since March of 2020, we see that 43% of the people took their 2020 timeshare vacation, which is a great number to see. And we see that people have been either that or they rescheduled their timeshare vacation at that point in time. So really, people are using their timeshare. They have it there to use, and it's been exciting for us to be able to see that they've used it. As far as those who plan to use their timeshare, maybe this is what's even more encouraging for us, that if we look at Q1 and Q2 of 2021, we see that 42% of all owners are looking to use their timeshare before July 1st. That's fantastic news, quite frankly, for so much of what we see in the timeshare world. We see people looking beyond July 1st. We see Q3 and Q4 as the quarters that might really see the bigger recovery for both the timeshare and the overall hospitality industry. To see that we've got 42% of timeshare owners who plan to use theirs before July 1 is great. And really, if you're looking at it for Q3 and Q4, we see the rest of the population, another 80%, another 40% of people who are looking plus to take advantage of that specifically in the next half of the year, especially around the holidays or after, hopefully, a vaccine has been more widely distributed and there's an opportunity for people to be able to travel and with more confidence. And why is the timeshare industry well positioned for recovery? And this is something that a number of people in the industry have been talking about for months at this point in time. One thing that we always talk to people about, whether it's a legislator in Capitol Hill or if it's an analyst or a reporter, is that we are leisure travel, not business travel. One of the biggest sectors that's been hit of the economy has definitely been business travel. As we use technologies such as Zoom and other online applications, business travel certainly has taken a major hit in 2020 and will take some time before it fully recovers. I think there's no doubt that people are anxious to be back on the road for business, but it seems that everyone is intending on being back on the road for leisure well before business travel regains its momentum. That bodes very well for the timeshare industry, as we're very much dependent on leisure, not business. We also know that there's a strong desire, and we've seen it in many different studies, for people to get on vacation. For someone who's staying at a hotel, that might take a little longer before they decide to book those hotel stays. But for someone who already has their timeshare interest and is looking at how are they going to use their points this year and can make a reservation without penalty of canceling it, this is a fantastic time for them to plan. And we see a lot of that taking place and a lot of people planning throughout the year. So we're really excited again about the fact that this is leisure travel and not business, and believe it will have a significant impact on the recovery of the industry. There is no doubt that the prepaid nature of timeshare is one of the huge reasons why we continue to see people committed to traveling. The fact that their money is ordered, the timeshare has been paid, and the vast majority of timeshare owners today are paid off in their mortgage or loan and are current on their maintenance fees, making them very eligible to travel. This is a great benefit to the timeshare industry that people are in this position, and owners are certainly acting like it by booking their travel well in advance and giving us, again, hope for the future for travel. Third, it really is the basics of the timeshare unit that we see as being a benefit to why people continue to feel comfortable traveling in a timeshare. Spacious units, they have kitchens, which the timeshare vacations I took last year, we spent a lot of time either cooking in the kitchen or bringing in food and eating there. It was wonderful for us, just as it always is, especially with a large family there in the unit, for us to be able to have the space necessary to be able to cook as we thought necessary, either go out when we felt comfortable or bring the food back in. Having those options is extremely important, And it really is a main benefit of having a timeshare unit and taking a timeshare vacation. Also, private laundry. It's great to be able to clean clothes and do things, especially as people are more focused on hygiene and more focused on cleanliness. Having the ability to use an in-use washer dryer is another benefit of a timeshare unit over, say, a traditional hotel room. And last but not least, the timeshare units, because they're more spacious, is more conducive to social distancing. And the activities that have gone along with the timeshare units are great for social distancing as well, and offer a lot of different activities which families today are looking to take advantage of. Last but not least, the pent-up demand to go on vacation. Again and again and again, I'm feeling it. I'm sure many other people here who are listening to this today are excited about going on vacation as soon as they, or maybe going on vacation on a regular basis as it is. We know there's going to be extreme pent-up demand for travel, and the timeshare industry will be there to meet those needs. Now I just want to talk a little bit about ARDA and where does the trade association fit in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years of the industry, and how are we going to be part of the industry's future success? The timeshare industry has been around, or the association has been around for 52 years now. Going into 52 years, it hasn't been the same trade association since day one and has continued to evolve, especially over the last 30 to 40 years, addressing much different needs in the industry than it did when it was first brought together and first formed. One thing that will continue to be a primary benefit and a primary focus of the trade association is advocacy. That's why we were formed. It's one of the main purposes and main reasons why we exist is for advocacy on the state and federal level. However, advocacy has changed over time. Technology has made that so. Being able, or just even the advent of a cell phone, being able to text somebody, that made a really big difference in how we did our advocacy efforts. But now if we look at what does 2021 look like, well, we learned a lot from 2020. Never before did I think there'd be a situation where we wouldn't be heading to the State House's Capitol Hill in person to meet with legislators, to talk about our issues, to educate them about timeshare, to educate them about the industry. Well, that's 2021 for you, and that's how we operated through most of 2020. We operated without the ability to see people face to face, without the ability to truly be able to see somebody and convince them of a point of view like we had been accustomed to. I give a lot of credit to our government affairs team because it was quick to adapt to the challenges that were thrown at us in 2020. Those included getting somebody's attention and all the groundwork that had been done prior to 2020, all of the events that were put in, the conversations, the education materials, the constant being there for those legislators and for events that led to our calls being answered, our issues being heard, and really a strong advocacy effort at the federal and state level last year to really talk about the issues for the industry, especially as we were concerned that we had the same issues of 2008, 2009 about the capital markets. Well, we found that the administration was very open to hearing our issues, but it wasn't without all the groundwork being laid over time. So that way, when we were able to get a hold of somebody, they knew about our industry, they knew about the economic impact because of the good work that the ARDA International Foundation does in producing research. And they gave us the time and were able to meet the needs of the industry. And as such, we were able to really move forward, and that was exciting. But how are we going to do this again in 2021? Well, we've got a plan that started coming into place later last year about what would happen regardless of the administration, as that does have a very significant impact, as you might imagine, on our program of work. How would we work or continue to work with what would likely be a different Trump administration if he would have won president? Or what we would do in a Biden administration, knowing we had seen much of the playbook before when President Obama was in office. This is something that we've already begun to execute upon and really already started to see our efforts as we move forward. And being innovative of the technology, knowing how to participate and be in the front of the line for Zoom calls, and many of you have seen some of the presentations that we've been able to have over the year by getting legislators to come on Zoom with us, which probably would have never happened if this pandemic didn't take place. People coming on camera or people taking place at video conference calls wasn't something that was on anyone's radar screen prior to 2020. So it's really been good for us to be able to utilize this technology, bring legislators in to our world, have our members have access to those legislators to hear about the industry. It's been paying dividends for us already, but will continue in the future. And really the technology that we utilize at the state and federal level to be able to do such things as track legislation, follow things. We have new technology that we've been able to implement that has been researched and vetted, so that way we could do a better job of advocacy on behalf of you and behalf of the entire industry. The focus, just like talking about the world of technology that we're using in the advocacy side, really digital is going to move throughout our entire organization. We were very fortunate when in early 2000 we had implemented, and I give our IT department and the folks who work within our organization some incredible kudos to have the insight to start moving us already to be Zoom ready. We had Zoom rooms installed in our offices. Zoom technology was just getting familiar to us prior to this pandemic. It's really helped in making us be able to react quickly to the needs of the organization. We've also found, and many of you are familiar with an initiative that has been in the association for a while, which is now an ARDA initiative, which is our responsibleexit.com. Responsible Exit, which is a place for you or for anybody to find resources for owners who are interested perhaps in exiting their timeshare, or for those who no longer believe that timeshare meets their vacation needs. There are resources there for them to think and learn about what they can do with their timeshare next. That really was first born out of a technology project. And the technology that was behind Responsible Exit has evolved significantly to give us insights into the people who are visiting our sites, how to interact with those people, and most importantly, how do we use that technology for other applications to help the trade association. Being in the digital platform that we are now, we're needing to utilize these resources much like our members do, whether it's a sales and marketing activity, whether it's a communication with your clients or constituents. Digital is the way that the trade association sees its future and its future success. And really that will even continue to move forward with an initiative that we're really excited about called Love My Timeshare, which should launch here in the next 7 to 14 days, which will be a social media campaign to really show people how much people love their timeshare and to give timeshare owners a platform to express that love. All done digital, all done social media, all using learnings that have happened over the last year to year and a half with the technology and the initiatives that have been brought forward and that we have taken from 2 years ago and moved to where they are today. This will give us the insights to be able to really promote, which is a first of its kind, full-scale promotional effort to show people how much they love their timeshare. And that it really addresses the issue we've been dealing with for a number of years, which is a lot of negative out there in social media and the media in general. How do we combat that? And that Love My Timeshare initiative is one way we're going to be able to do it. There'll be lots more about that initiative in weeks and months to come. But I just want to let you know that it's coming, and there'll be ways that everyone will be able to participate and follow that initiative here shortly. Third, as I had mentioned earlier in the presentation, the ARDA International Foundation has been doing a fantastic job of continuing to evolve the research offerings that it makes to our members. It's listened, strong listening tour that took place to make sure that we were providing relevant research to our members and that the information that was going there could be used, and it was something that people felt really good supporting. The Back to Normal Barometer is one great example of a way the foundation has moved from its traditional research platforms to looking at external partners who are aligned with our goals and mission to be able to get great insights that have been used by all of our members, publicly traded company and otherwise, to be able to show the evolution of the timeshare industry. The real-time insights we're getting about timeshare owners are truly valuable to our industry. And it's one that we're able to promote and share with others, which they get these insights and they can understand more about the timeshare industry and exactly how and why we're really well positioned for a recovery. And last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about the events that are changing with the times. Prior to the pandemic, we were really excited about the ARDA annual convention that was to take place last May. A number of changes were to be debuted, a number of them because we truly listened to our members, and as we always have, but listening to our members, we heard they wanted a different product for that convention. We heard that changes were necessary, and looking at the overall trends that were taking place in the meeting industry, trends that were taking place within our industry, which are moving rather quickly, we were able to come up with a different format that we were really excited about. Unfortunately, like almost every other meeting that didn't take place before March of last year, that meeting was canceled. We were excited, however, that we did have a trustee retreat in Washington, D.C. in early March, which was probably the last of the in-person live events that took place in the city. But really, it gave us that chance to listen to members even more, and really even debut some changes to our trustee retreat. We had a 70-person congressional reception, which was fantastic. Another chance for us to showcase our advocacy efforts. Those advocacy efforts which laid the groundwork for much of what we were able to do in the rest of 2020 all took place because of that last big in-person event we were able to have. But this year, as many of you have probably already seen, we have shifted from Las Vegas to Orlando. That our annual spring conference, as it's now rebranded, is going to take place in Orlando, Florida, in June 7th through the 10th. And we will be able to debut a number of changes that will take place there. We're really excited about the fact it's going to be an in-person event. And we really think that's necessary. And it's something we've heard from our members that they want to meet in person. But they also want to meet in person in as safe way as possible. So we will make sure we're adhering to all safety guidelines to the extent that they get revised from the CDC and from the state of Florida while we're there. And we're going to have some form of virtual component to that convention as well. So for those who can't make the conference, they'll be able to participate, hopefully, in a good number of the events and get the learnings and takeaways that everybody else will get who will be there in person. Those events will continue to evolve. We will have an ARDA Fall Conference in Washington, D.C. in November, and we'll be able to debut even more changes as time goes on, and as we continue to listen to our members and meet the needs of the association. So with all that, that's really the playbook for us. How are we going to continue to be necessary in everyone's business? That is our goal. Everything the trade association does wants to be focused on a necessary service to the timeshare industry, a necessary service to our members, and really something that we can look back on and say that our members and their membership dollars are going to work for them and producing a better atmosphere and a better environment for them to do business. So with that, I've kind of gone over the things that I think I wanted to be able to let everybody know about. Sharon, I'm happy at this point in time to answer any questions that you or the audience has.
All right. Well, sure. Appreciate it. This has been like a breath of fresh air, actually, to just a very positive message, Jason. Thank you. And we're honored here at Resort Trades that you have joined our platform, and thank you. And we also would like to commit further resources, whatever we can do, because ARDA is very vital to the future of our all the professionals in the industry. So
I appreciate that, Sharon. And I appreciate you giving me a chance to actually get dressed up.
Oh,
it's really nice to actually put a tie on, to be able to feel like we're at a meeting or feel like it's a little bit like it was before in 2020. So this is
absolutely. It does. We return to normal. As a matter of fact, I did want to mention, you talked about how time sharing is well positioned for recovery. And in our January issue of Resort Trades, we had our forecast article. I asked our author to put in a sidebar about timeshare assets as far as the asset-based securitization, securitization market. So, and it was positive. So he would concur. All right. At this point, I have a few questions for you. Now that we're going to be hopefully into this recovery, What predictions do you have for hospitality companies to reinvent themselves in the next 2 or 3 years?
So Sharon, there's no doubt that one of the biggest challenges that any company has when they look at what does change look like, or how do they take their business model and make any significant changes to it, is the fact that many of them are running so hard and so fast to succeed every quarter. It's really difficult to take the time or to take a pause in order to make changes that could significantly direct the way a company will go. As far as our members are concerned, one area that I believe many of them have been looking to really change and evolve is the type of product they offer. I think there's some real understanding that the core product is strong. And we've seen this too through some recent acquisitions in the industry. We have seen the fact that consolidation is going to continue to happen. The core timeshare product is a strong one and one that has a lot of value. How do the timeshare developers continue to add to the value? How are they going to provide more? The holy grail seems to have been a short-term product, something that is less than forever to be able to sell. This has given, I believe, developers a lot of time to be able to analyze, what does that product look like? What do the products of the future have in common with their timeshare product, and where are they going to be different? There's innovation taking place there, the same way there's innovation taking place within companies to become more efficient, to take the learnings of the pandemic and understanding of their owner and maybe listen some more than they had before. They've had time to do so. I think they're going to get a lot out of this time. And the ones who are going to be successful in the future are the ones who've been able to truly figure those questions, the answers to those questions, and implement them on a timely basis. As the analogy kind of goes, it's hard to change the tires on a car moving 60 miles per hour. Well, for a lot of people, that car kind of went immediately into the shop. So now's the time to make those changes. Now's the time to think through what the changes are going to be. And really, I think our product changes are going to be some of it. The marketing will change. As people, and the sales process may even have an opportunity to change. As people have been home more, there has been a chance for developers to be able to communicate in a very different way than they used to, or get comfortable with the fact that a sale might take place not face-to-face. Those are big learnings. Those take a lot of time to perfect, but I think I've heard a lot in the industry, both on the marketing side and the sales side, that there have been some real breakthroughs in the way this has been done, and some learnings that'll take people into 2021 and beyond.
Well, and since you touch on how we are, the industry is growing and changing, this is where having a face-to-face meeting at the next conference, the annual spring conference, as we now call it, it will be invaluable. Are you going to have educational sessions? I presume. And also, Marge Lennon asked if you're going to have an awards ceremony or contest, I guess I should say.
Mm-hmm. So for this conference, what we envision is a slight change from the conferences of past when it comes to education sessions. One thing we've always prided ourselves on is a strong meetings committee who've come up with idea after idea after idea for strong learning sessions. This year, we will likely change from the more frequent and smaller learning sessions to what will look like a series of general sessions or larger education sessions for people to be able to attend. That's for a number of reasons, and one of the things that's really difficult is that a small room can only hold so many people. We are going to be somewhat limited by the physical space that we're going to have, although we're excited about the space that's offered to us at the JW. We feel like the real benefit this year is going to come from the larger general sessions that are going to be able to convey big picture ideas to the folks who are there, and also have the chance for us to be able to broadcast some of those to a virtual audience for learning. So I can say that the convention will have some things that will look very familiar. It will have some things which will be different. We do, for instance, on awards, absolutely, we do plan on having a form of awards recognition at the convention. What exactly it look like, that's, we'll probably have more details for that in the future, but there certainly will be something there at convention for awards. It's a huge part of who we are, a great part of industry recognition, and we really stand strongly behind the program.
Yeah. Well, and I might also direct our attention to the another poll that we posted. Are you attending the spring ARDA? 61% have said yes in person. Virtual, 15% are going for that, and 23% are still not sure. So let's just pray that COVID reduces and retracts and we have less issues, and I'm sure we're dying to get there. What consumer trends are happening now that bode well for timeshare? Do you see any new products being developed to capitalize on new needs or expectations? You mentioned the shorter term of availability. So,
well, I think one of the strongest things is that people still want to have space on vacation. The leisure travel for the hotels and tours, from the folks that I've been speaking to, there still is no indication of strong recovery, especially in the leisure tour market, probably until the summer. What we continue to be able to have, and if you look at Airbnb properties in the beach in this area, the DC area, if you look in the beaches in both Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, VRBO, if you're looking at Airbnb, anything with space, anything with exclusivity and access to the beach, almost fully booked through the summer and into the holidays. It really does show you that people are looking to vacation in a place where they have more space and they're able to spread out and have privacy. It really bodes well for our industry that the core product continues to be a larger unit. The core product continues to have that space, and in many cases, access to beaches and access to amenities, which can be regulated like so many of our members have, especially like pool access. The ability for people to be able to regulate pool access to keep numbers at a reasonable level has been really a selling point for a lot of our developers and for timeshare resorts. A lot of them too in drive-to destinations. It will continue to be strong through this year. So the core product really is going to take timeshare into a very strong position for 2021 because of everything that we've had to offer for a number of years. More people are beginning to realize are exactly what they want for 2021 and going forward.
Oh, that's great. Now, another question, how has COVID changed your thinking about the role ARDA plays in helping vacation ownership developers grow their businesses?
The position we're in today really continues to evolve because of the fact that we started before COVID began, before the pandemic began. We were strong to listen to our members' needs. Our membership team was listening, our meetings team was listening, the foundation was listening, our government affairs folks were listening. We were putting in processes and procedures in place to meet the needs of our developers before this. On the advocacy side, we had created a legislative policy council, which was a great way to unify the voices of the industry looking at issues from coast to coast. The foundation had been on a couple of different listening tours in order to be able to understand what was relevant to our members. We were starting to hear what was working, what wasn't. Once the pandemic hit and we were away from our core business, because part of what I really enjoy doing, and I think my staff would probably agree they do as well, the entire staff at ARDA, is being on the road and listening to members, being able to understand the environment they're working in and pick up on what's affecting their business on a day-to-day basis. We've had to become even better listeners in this environment. We want to be in person. Everybody knows that. Our members have been patient and have been extremely supportive, which is really nice to see. As a matter of fact, I think the outpouring of support has been greater than even we would have anticipated about people who are there supporting both financially and through whatever volunteer help they can to help ARDA succeed. It really has been a rethought, and we've taken this time, I think, and the staff overall, the entire ARDA staff, has really taken the time to make sure ARDA itself is running as efficiently as possible. I think that's something that the things that you don't see outside of the organization, the way that, again, I mentioned IT and our IT department, all of the back of house operations that makes us today be able to work virtually. Many companies have this already. My hat's off to the entire ARDA staff for how they pulled together in difficult times, and of course in a way that we could meet these budgetary constraints. We've had negative effects on our budget like many others have. We've been able to do all these things using less resources, and the time has been well spent. So when we're ready to get back out on the road, we're ready to have those meetings, and we're ready to be able to be advocates, we're going to be in a position where we can do so in a very efficient way. So part of it, it's a little, it's kind of a two-step process, sharing how COVID is affecting how we provide resources to the developers. Well, first and foremost, it's making sure they realize that our organization is as efficient and operationally efficient as possible, and that we're taking their dues and really putting the money to the program that we're working on while making sure that we are as efficient as we possibly can be. I can't stress that enough, that is a huge priority of ours at ARDA, is to make sure that that's in place so that way we feel good about the entire product we're delivering.
Yeah, well, and I guess although my question had concerned developers, you pretty much answered, because not all ARDA members are developers. Correct. That this really, all of the boats will be floating as from the work you're doing. So, well,
one of the things, Sharon, I really want to mention too is that we've got a number of levels of membership, and of course, both developer and associate members alike. One of the things that we really tried to do too was provide value for our VIP membership. And the VIP members of ours, they're our most engaged population of members. For them, we had a VIP live series and a VIP voice series. We brought genuine speakers, and I think fantastic speakers, to them for them to listen to, political pundits, political figures. We were also able to bring VIPs together to be able to share experiences and understand and learn from each other about how they're dealing with different challenges during the last 8 months. It will continue to be important for us to do so. It's always been the role to be able to do it in person, but we have been able to use the virtual technology to be able to connect people who are still looking for business opportunities and our different members who want to be part of a community. We've done our best to be able to provide that to them while still moving forward with all the plans for the future of in-person meetings.
Okay, well, great. Well, that is good. Let's see, understanding all companies and associations are having to do more with less. Mm-hmm. I think that you've given us quite a few examples of creativity and fresh thinking you've seen from your team as an organization. Perhaps going forward, you can help suggest ways that our listeners might be able to learn more in addition to going to the convention or conference, also reading Developments Magazine, tuning in or stepping up their membership to be Chairman's League or trustees. And well, I guess I've already said it for you now.
Well, I think I'm glad you pointed out, Sharon, that Developments Magazine is a pride and joy publication of ours, has some phenomenal information in it. So the insights and the articles that we've been getting have been fantastic. The fact that it's also digital, people can go ahead and get it even if they're not in the office to be able to read it online. You can find it on the website. You can also make sure you're watching out after our newsletters. And the newsletters that have been coming out have got a lot of good information in them as well. So there's a lot of ways to stay connected with ARDA. You can take a look at our advocacy pages that we have on the ARDA website. We're Responsible Exit has a lot of things that are going on that website too for information for consumers. We've got, as I mentioned before, the Love My Timeshare campaign. Keep a lookout on both the website there. We'll have a Love My Timeshare website, which will be up and operational shortly. That will provide great ways that people are going to be able to keep up with that campaign and seeing everything that's going on there. There's going to be a lot of different ways that people can follow us on our social channels. They can follow us through those newsletters. They can follow us on the website and keep a lookout, especially on developments. So there's a lot of different ways at this point in time that people can keep connected.
Yeah, and as publishers, we are very much in tune with partnering with you guys. I don't think that there's a conflict, but more like a nice way to meld our various audiences and talents. So
yeah, we're all in this together, Sharon, that's for certain, and we'd like to support one another. One last thing I should say for connectivity, we do have an ARDA Win event that's taking place on February 17th. Information from registration is there too. We're going to have some great speakers and some great panels that'll be part of that event. So I suggest it's all virtual, that particular one. So go take a look at it on the website. Please feel free. Registration, we've got some great speakers. We've got Jill Ellis, the coach of the U.S. Women's World Cup gold medal winning World Cup soccer team, who's going to join us for an hour-long conversation. It's going to be fantastic. So we're really excited about what we're going to have at that event and all the future events as well.
okay, great. Well, and also can't let you go without asking if there are any big legislative or regulatory issues on the horizon about which we should be aware and on the outlook for.
Always be on the outlook for chances for localities to raise revenues, unfortunately. If there has been a significant effect of the economic effect of the last 8 months, it has been on state and local governments. There's been a lot of damage done to local economies. If you look even just in Central Florida alone, the stories about the tourist development tax collections, the amount of money that's not going to fund up certain local initiatives, this always brings about an atmosphere where people are looking for revenue raising opportunities. The first place many of these people tend to look at are the visitors, not the voters. Be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for how ARDA is dealing with them to the extent we see them, and how you could be involved to try to prevent them, or once they happen, to how to defeat them. We're going to be keenly focused on those issues at the state and local level. Really at the federal level, it will be priorities of new administration. A lot of different business initiatives we'll be watching out for. Initiatives coming from the CFPB, the Department of Labor, different federal agencies will be a keen focus for us in 2021 to see how their policy changes might affect our industry and the business industry in general. But there are a number. There always are some issues that seem to happen on the West Coast, California, Hawaii. There's some things that we're going to be focused in on out there and watching. And we'll also be watching on what we'll consider to be pro-business initiatives that'll look as far as COVID liability for people who are business owners, many of our developers, or resorts that may have somebody that gets sick on property, and shield these from lawsuits that may take place where a consumer may want to sue them believing that it was their fault they contracted the virus on property. It is a very strong focus of a lot of state legislatures to protect businesses so that way they can continue to operate without potentially having any catastrophic loss during this time, in addition to what was business loss.
Right. Well, that's a good point. All right. Well, I believe we've about come to the end of our session. And Jason, again, I do thank you very much for your time and putting together such a comprehensive program and very informative. I would direct our listeners to, if you're not already using ARDA.org as your home page to
Send it away. That'd be great.
Yeah, just to stay current with ARDA and all that's going on. And if you have any questions, I'm sure Jason wouldn't mind sharing his email address with you. Jason?
Oh, sure. jgamel@arda.org. Would love to hear any comments or questions that people have.
I think Carrie will probably put it up on the chat section, knowing her. Yes, which she has already done. All right. Well, thank you again. And also, If you missed any of our previous webinars, go to YouTube and do a search for Resort Trades. And thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sharon Scott Wilson, publisher of Resort Trades. We have been bringing you free videos in the hopes that we can help solidify the timeshare resort community and provide you, vacation ownership professional that you are, with some useful information. So when you hit the like button or share or comment, you're helping yourself too to be more integrated into the community, helping others get to know you. So be an influencer, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when we post a new video, and thank you. Good luck.